All right, so today we're going to be going over the support E1s like I previously mentioned. And what we're going to be doing is we have a couple of different criteria when it comes to this. Number one is we are looking at generalist support, limited, and Bronya, honestly, for 5-star characters, because their Eidolons are harder to obtain. Secondly, we are going to be taking into account what exactly they are going to be doing for a specific team, and more importantly, generalistic capabilities. I know we are gearing more and more slowly towards team-centric compositions. However, we have to look at characters as well and how they can substitute in for units you don't have. Like, let's say, for example, with Evanesia, you don't have like a Yao Guang, or you don't have like a Huawa to help boost the energy or crit damage of the character. You can substitute like a Sparkle or even like a Sunday in instead to help boost that energy regeneration and boost the crit damage. So we're looking at like generalistic capabilities and what the character is going to be providing for the team. We're going to be going over all of these characters you see here, and again, we're just talking about their E1, and we will be moving them up in certain spots when apt, or if they don't even make the list, then they're just going to stay at this bottom rung. So starting off with the very bottom, we have Bronya. So at E1, when using the skill, there's a 50% fixed chance of increasing one skill point. This effect has 1 turn cooldown. She is not moving up at all. The issue with that is that it's not a guaranteed chance to recover a skill point, as you will see with later characters down the road, that they have built-in abilities along with additional effects to recover a skill point guaranteed. So, and I mean, obviously we also have Sparkle, right, who just regenerates a ton of skill points. So Bronya is not going to be moving up into this top 10. Luocha is when the zone is active, attack of all allies is going to be increased by 20%. And while that is good, broadly speaking, it's not very specific. Meaning that we are trending more towards characters who are scaling off of different aspects, not entirely on attack anymore as to when he first came out in 1.x. So again, with him, he is not going to be moving up. Moving over to Zhao Q is that allies deal 40% increased damage to enemy targets affected with Ashen Roost, and whenever inflicting Ashen Roost on an enemy target via triggering the talent effect, additionally increase the number of Ashen Roost stacks applied by this by 1 instance. So what exactly does the Ashen Roost actually do? If I can find it right here, here we go. When they are afflicted with the Ashen Root, they are also considered as being burned at the same time and taking fire dot damage equal to 179% of his attack at the end of each turn. It's okay, it's a debuff essentially, but it's not really a whole lot more outside of that. If it was further reducing the defense of the enemy, I'm looking right here, well, they would be increasing the amount of damage they receive, so not reducing their defense, but you know, it's still a debuff, right? By 15%, and then at E1 that you would be increasing the number of stacks by 1. So you're just essentially just increasing the total number of stacks by 1, not a whole lot. There's still a lower limit there, so I don't think that he is going to be moving up either. Now, moving over to Huawa is that essentially what is going to be happening here is that whenever she possesses her divine provision, all ally speed is going to be increased by 11%. And I am a huge proponent of Huawa. I do think she is at number 10. Just given the fact that she's able to provide a speed boost, I think is very good, especially in this kind of game when it is turn based. Speed tuning is very important, and being able to further boost your whole party's team by it's not a whole lot, it's 11%, but still being able to increase everybody's speed by 11% I think is absolutely pivotal and very worthwhile. Now, moving over to Ling Sha is that her weakness break efficiency is going to be increased by 50%, her own individual, and when an enemy unit's weakness is broken, reduce their defense by 20%. That is very good. Given the fact that she is also a abundance character, I think we can probably slot her in right here. Obviously, you know, when we get further on, we can adjust accordingly and take people off if need be. but I do think Ling Sha is actually very, very strong because of the fact that obviously, you know, she's primarily used on a weakness break team. I just being able to, because everybody is going to be able, as we progress further in the game's lifespan, more and more units have the ability to inflict their own weakness element onto the enemy and allowing for weakness break more frequently. So being able to just splash her on a lot of different teams at E1, being able to reduce just the enemy's defense just for anybody by 20%, I think is very valuable. Now moving over to a Fugue is that all targets with the Foxian Prayer increases their weakness break efficiency by 50%. She is very much locked pivotally into a weakness break team. So the break team, right? Whether that be Firefly, Boot Hill, Rappa, at this current point, obviously that could change down the road, but she is locked into a specific team archetype. Again, that could be good down the road, but we're looking at generalistic capabilities as well for being able to be splashed in any kind of team composition. So being very locked into a break team is very detrimental to her. Whereas her counterpart right over here, Ruan Mei, is that while the ultimate zone is deployed, the damage dealt by all allies ignore 20% of the target's defense. So obviously you have to activate the ultimate, but her E1 completely bypasses the break mechanic, and that your allies are just going to be ignoring 20% of the enemy's defense. I do think that is slightly better than Ling Sha's, being able to just inflict 20%, you know, ignore 20% of the enemy's defense. I think is very pivotal and valuable. Moving over to Adventurine is that increased crit damage by 20% for all targets with the fortified wager. Obviously a follow-up mechanic character, but you could use him on a lot of different teams because of his skill. And then whenever they do have the shield, being able to boost everybody's crit damage by 20% is extremely valuable. After using your ultimate, provides all allies with a fortified shield. He does that already inherently, and then you can just stack that on top of each other. Very good. Whose shield effect is equal to 100% of the one provided by the skill, lasting for 3 turns. So being able to inherently get your crit damage bonus from his E1 straight from his ultimate because of the E1, I think is very, very strong. And also the fact what he does outside of that, but we're just looking ideally at the E1s. I think that is a very good conversation starter we can have right there with Aventurine. Now moving over to Sparkle. E1 Sparkle is the Cypher effect granted by the ultimate, lasts for 1 extra turn. All allies with Cypher have their attack increased by 40%. So being able to increase the Cypher effect by 1 turn is very good because of the fact that you are going to be boosting their critical damage based off of her own crit damage. So being able to further increase that by 1 turn, extremely valuable. The attack bonus is much higher than Luocha's when we initially discussed. While I still stand by what I said, that attack boost now inherently isn't as valuable as it previously was, but having that benefit of further boosting the Cypher effect by an additional turn, meaning that you get more crit damage increase, I think is very, very valuable. Robin is, while the Concerto state is active, all allies, all type res pen is increased by 23%. This is very good because this is also very splashable in any team because of the fact that when you need to be able to get in that Concerto state, you need to get into that ultimate, and because of the fact that she's able to regenerate energy based off of any ally's attack, whether that be follow-up or normal attack, is extremely good. And she has value, right? You know, she's kind of fallen off in terms of everything else, but the E1 is very, very strong. Having all type res pen increased is very, very good. Moving over to Sunday, her brother, when you use the skill, the target who's targeted by the skill can ignore 15% of the enemy's defense to deal damage, and their summon can ignore 40% of the enemy target's defense and deal damage lasting for 2 turns. So very, very good because the fact that you have that possibility of having a main hypercarry unit being able to ignore 15% of the enemy's defense, or for a character with a summon. And this is the important part, because outside of remembrance, right, which is just very much like, hey, I have a summon, this is what it does, boom, bang, bum, we have characters who have a quote-unquote summon as well. Jing Yuan, we also have Evanescia. So the mechanics in terms of the summon is a little more interesting. I want to put him up, but I'm not going to. I don't think. We'll probably put him up right over here and maybe have a discussion, come back to him, because of the fact that very much the same way as like a fugue, right, is the possibility of the future proofing of him being able to get better down as time goes on is very valuable. And you know, it's there, the possibility is there, but that doesn't merit him instantly jumping up. Right now, Dalia, this might be counterintuitive to what I said about Fugue, but I'm already going to put her up possibly like in that maybe top 5 conversation, because of the fact that her super break damage multiplier provided by the talent to the dance partner now applies to everybody on the team with dance partners, additionally receiving a 40% boost after dance partners use an attack. Additionally, deals a attacked enemy targets a fixed amount of toughness reduction equal to 25% of their max toughness. This effect can only trigger once per enemy target, and this trigger count resets after the enemy target receives a killing blow. This is extremely valuable. While Fugue's is very bland and broad, Dalia's is a little more specific, granting a higher boost for the character. And while yes, Firefly benefits more so than Boot Hill or even Rappa when it comes to having Dalia on the team, being able to further increase your dance partner's break efficiency and just everything that the dance is able to do, while also being able to increase everybody else's break efficiency, is extremely good. So that's why I think she has a legitimate conversation. Now, moving over to Tribby. Tribby is going to be in the discussion for the top E1 because of the fact that while the zone lasts and after ally targets, doesn't matter who it is, attacks the enemy, additionally deals true damage equal to 23% of the total damage of this attack to targets that have been dealt additional damage by the zone. What this means is that she's able to do more damage the more damage you're able to put out. And as time goes on, with more and more characters having higher damage multipliers, this makes this E1 even better. It scales exponentially as time will progress and go on. So it makes this just absolutely bonkers valuable. Hyacinth is that when Hyacinth is in the after air state, all ally targets additionally increase their max HP by 50%, and after using an attack, immediately restore their HP by an amount equal to 7% of her max HP. So guess what? You're able to increase your own max HP, right, by 50%, including everybody else on the team. So survivability is very good. But in conjunction with increasing your own max HP, you're able to further increase the amount of healing capabilities that Hyacinth is able to provide. Because of the fact that you're increasing her max HP by 50%, guess what? You are now recovering 7% of her max HP to everybody after using an attack. So this makes her extremely valuable and in that conversation for the top 5. Now, Seridra, the character with military merit, ignores 15% of the target's defense when dealing damage. If military merit has been upgraded to peerage, then the character additionally ignores 20% of the target's defense while dealing skill damage. When Seridra uses her skill, regenerates 2 energy for the designated ally target. A couple different things here is that military merit is more likely to be active than the peerage, so you're essentially looking at that 15% ignore enemies defense while also being able to regenerate Seridra's energy when using the skill. However, something to keep a note is that for the peerage, it states when dealing skill damage. So outside that skill damage, you're not really looking at dealing a whole lot of overall damage inherently. So for characters such as Sphinon and such as Anaxa, this is extremely good. But outside those two instances, she's not really going to be seeing a ton of benefit from that E1. So unfortunately, even though I do like using Seridra, I don't think she qualifies to be in this discussion. Hung PT states that when using the ultimate, recovers 1 skill point, so boom, gets rid of that 50-50 possibility from Bronya, and increases the bond mate's all type res pen by 18%, lasting for 3 turns. This is extremely good. Being able to regenerate a skill point is very valuable. Just boom, you get that skill point back instantly. And whoever you have as your bond mate, typically your main DPS character, has that damage bonus. Now instead of just the damage increase, the attack increase is what they're essentially going to be getting. You're now getting all type res pen lasting for 3 turns, while also getting that skill point, while also getting the shield. So Hung PT actually does quite a bit at E1, which is crazy because he was a free character, right? Moving over to Sirene. Sirene states that when Demiurge triggers the Memo Sprite skill Ode to Ego during the use of the Minute of Blossoms and Plumes, gain 6 recollection points and increase the number of bounces for this attack by 12. Basically what this means is that you are reducing the amount of recollection points you need. I believe the total number is 24, I think 24, 26, something along those lines. And you're reducing that, and that is the biggest issue when it comes to Sirene. Inside the Remembrance team, she's extremely powerful, and even with Chrysos Air teams, she's very good, being able to provide a lot to any Chrysos Air inherently. But the problem with her is the recollection points, and as you get more and more Eidolons, it becomes less of an issue and you can see her full true potential. So this is another character, honestly, I think we can probably put right here in the possible top 10 discussion. Now, moving over to Yao Guang, and I'm already just gonna go ahead and put that right there. So in Aha's extra turn triggered by the ultimate, the fixed amount of punchline taken into account increases to 40. So very good, you're able to do more damage inherently for everybody in that Aha instance who does the damage. Now, when dealing elation damage, all ally targets ignore 20% of the target's defense. So you're just ignoring everybody's defense when it comes to the extra Aha instance, which is extremely valuable. Now, we have, what do we got? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 2 characters who probably are going to get bumped down, and we have 1 character who needs to be bumped up. And going back over my initial comment about characters who provide a lot and being able to increase, just do a bunch of different aspects, I do think that probably Adventurine is going to be moving up slightly over Dalia, and then for moving people down, I am going to be moving Lingsha down reluctantly, and then I'm also going to be moving Sirene down. And let me explain the Sirene and Lingsha aspects. Lingsha, like I said, she's able to be splashable on a bunch of different teams, being able to heal and all that, which is fantastic. But it still relies specifically on the weakness break. And then Sirene relies on mainly being in a Chrysos Air team, otherwise the recollection points discussion is kind of pointless, right? Adventurine, I'm moving up because of the shield he's able to provide, so that it provides survivability while increasing crit damage for everybody with the shield. So he's supporting everybody, and all you need is just to have his fortified wager shield up, which is very consistent with his current kit and mechanics. So that's why he's absolutely up there. Now, when it comes to movement in the top 10 itself, I think I'm going to do this for the top 5, and I'm pretty confident with this. I mean, there's a gap between the top 3 and the other 2, in my opinion. And the rest of the top 10, I'm probably going to do this. I'm probably just going to keep it like this. Because of the fact, like I said, with Dalia, it's mainly just focused on break teams, whereas Ruame, she completely bypasses that mechanic. with her ultimate being able to, able for your teammates to deal additional damage, 20% ignoring of the enemy's defense when the zone is up. But yeah, that's gonna be all from me, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you all within the next video.